What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Tuesday, October 13th, 2020, and we have to preview a ton of a Tuesday night football game. Joining me to do it, to break it down from a gambling and DFS perspective, Jordan Dajani. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
A ton on Tuesday on CBS. That is what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm doing fantastic. It feels good to have a Sunday night game, a Monday night game, and now a Tuesday night game entering week 5, week 6-ish.
I kind of like Tuesday night over Thursday night. I could get down with that, I think. Cancel Thursday night football and let's play Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
I'm with you. And, you know, the reputation that Thursday night football has is kind of tarnished, right? It's like Dolphins-Browns game with backup quarterbacks. Tuesday night football, we have two undefeated teams coming into this matchup. So everyone's excited for it. It's the only game being played, wrapping up the week. So, yeah, I'm very excited for it.
All right, we got to get hot here. I was told, somebody DM'd me and said that our prop bets have not been as great the last few weeks. But we did hit the Kamara receiving yards over by the skin of our teeth last night. So let's get some bets going here. First of all, the line here, the game is in Nashville, obviously. Taylor Lewan and A.J. Brown are back for the Titans. The Titans just announced that earlier. Jeffrey Simmons will not play. Who else is on the – this is so tricky because who else is on the – COVID protocol?
I believe it's we have a couple of big guys still on the COVID list, I believe, such as wide receiver Corey Davis, Adam Humphries as well, rookie cornerback Christian Fulton, who stepped into a starting role as of late, and like you mentioned, Jeffrey Simmons is definitely a big loss if he's not going to play tonight on that defensive line. So when it comes to the injury report, yeah, you said that both Taylor Lewan and A.J. Brown were questionable. It seems like both are going to play, but when you look at that COVID reserve part of the injury list, if you will, that's where it gets a little worrisome for Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly. We have Josh Allen, who was on the injury report but should be fine and good to go. Matt Milano is out for this game. Zach Moss still questionable. And then maybe the biggest one of all with A.J. Brown playing is Tre'Davious White, the Bills cornerback, who is listed as questionable right now. He did not participate in the walkthrough on Saturday. That's still plenty of time to get back and get ready to play. So I would guess that he'll be closer to a game time inactive unless I miss something out there. Cole Beasley was on the injury report, but I think he's good to go as well. Long story short, it looks like it is mostly defensive guys who are going to be missing, which is interesting, Jordan, because this over has dropped from 53 down to 51.5. The Bills are minus 3.5 in Nashville. Any thoughts on the spread or the total?
Yeah, unfortunately, even though I live in Nashville, I'm going to be going with the Buffalo Bills in this one to cover 3.5 points. I mean, listen, the Titans have had about 2 weeks off now, and it hasn't been a relaxing time, right? Yeah, they already spent up their bye week, but they've been dealing with an outbreak of a pandemic within their facilities. They've had to reopen it and then re-shut down after more positive tests were generated. It's been pretty ridiculous what's going on in Nashville, and stressful nonetheless when it comes to the NFL, NFLPA coming into your city and facilities to investigate what you've been doing or not doing, and that has led to this outbreak and a reshuffling around scheduled games in the 2020 NFL season. So we don't know how this team's going to look after taking 2 weeks off. And like I already mentioned, they have some notable names on that COVID reserve list. Both teams are undefeated, but if you want to ask me which one is the more fraudulent 3-0 or 4-0, I would probably have to lean towards the Tennessee Titans. I really like what Josh Allen's been doing for this offense. The defense for the Buffalo Bills needs to step up, but we can talk about that a little later. I like the Buffalo Bills. They were able to play last week. They beat the Las Vegas Raiders, who in turn just beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. So I like the momentum the Bills have been creating for themselves. And as for the Titans, they're going to have to kind of start over. It's almost like the beginning of a new season for them in some ways.
Yeah, so I think the thing with Tennessee that stands out to me is I'm not sure that they're good on defense, and they have lots of good players. Don't get me wrong. I think they could get better on defense. But currently, and actually, you know what? I'm not sure Buffalo is great on defense either yet. I don't think either team, I think both teams have the possibility of becoming better defense as the season goes along, but neither team has been exceptionally great on defense. Tennessee checks in at 18th in DVOA through their first 3 games. Buffalo is 22nd in DVOA, which is a shocking number for Buffalo, considering how good that they've been over the past few years. But they just, you could see it, like the Rams were able to move it on them late in the second half. The Raiders were able to move it on them pretty easily. And teams can run on them. It's really surprising that Buffalo is not better on defense. Defenses just aren't good in 2020. I think I like the Bills in the over in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, speaking on the Bills' defense, it's been inconsistent. I'll say that. I went back and watched the Raiders film this morning, and, they're just spotty. I think that this is a unit that is going to continue to get better as the season progresses. Remember, this was a unit that literally carried them to the playoffs last year. Now that they have a better offense, a true number 1 wide receiver, a franchise quarterback coming into his own, it seems like the Bills will hopefully develop into a force to be reckoned with as the year progresses. When it comes to the Titans, the secondary is the big issue, both in covering the pass and also if a running back breaks to the second, third level. They've been pretty atrocious. There's no getting around it. Now, when it comes to the total, this is certainly not something that is a lock for me, because when you look at the defenses, like you said, this could be a shootout, right? It has the makings of that. Josh Allen could go off. But at the same time, you look at the history of this series, man, it's been pretty ugly to watch the Titans and Bills play football. We're talking like 14-13 games, 14-10 games. They've not even sniffed close to the over-under over the past 2 matchups. And with the Titans coming back after missing basically 2 weeks, that has me hesitant to jump on the over with you. I mean, like I said, the script for this game could go several different ways. But I think I'm going to stay away from the total in this situation. If you're forcing me to pick one, I might have to go with the under.
Okay. Look, that's fair. I mean, Bills Titans does not inspire like a 60-point shootout in theory. I do think when you look at Tennessee though, they've only played 3 games. They had a week 4 bye, of course. This is the back end of week 5. They gave up 30 points to the Vikings, and the week before that, they gave up 30 points to the Jaguars. Now, they only gave up 14 to the Broncos in that week 1 game. That thing was a slop fest and really weird. Like, they ran a ton of plays and only scored 16 and missed all those field goals. It didn't convert in the red zone. The thing about Buffalo that makes me like to take the over is that, unlike previous Buffalo teams, we have really seen a willingness to throw in the second. They throw on early downs and they throw in the second half of games. So I think that Buffalo will be willing to push the tempo, and that they know where their defense is at. We saw that against the Raiders and the Rams and the Dolphins. They understand that they're just not going to lock down other teams in the fourth quarter, and that they do need to be a little more aggressive and go vertical to guys like Stephon Diggs and John Brown later in games. And Josh Allen's willing to push the ball down the field. So unless I'm missing something with the weather, is the weather? You're in Nashville. What's the weather like today?
I'm looking at the window right now. It looks pretty nice outside. Nothing's going on right now. So yeah, I don't think we're expecting any crazy storms or any snow or anything crazy like that.
There's no wind, no rain. Just a nice sunny Nashville night. All right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to ride with the over. It's come down to 51.5. I think that's too low, and I would anticipate, Jordan, that it goes back up before as we get a little bit closer to game time. I'll be curious to see which direction the spread moves. The Titans are plus 3.5, minus 120 right now, or minus 115. I'm sorry, on William Hill. I guess these things move like crazy throughout the day. Yeah, I'm going to go over Bills in the over. And obviously I like the Bills team total over too. I think that they'll score 30 points. I just don't think the Titans are going to hold them to less than 30 points unless Buffalo's up 27-10 and Tennessee's offense is so dysfunctional that they just can't get going. And that doesn't seem like it'll be the case to me, because they have A.J. Brown back and Taylor Lewan's playing. They should be able to move the ball. Now, look, if they get it, if this game script turns into Derrick Henry grinder, then I'm bleeped. That's where I'm at. I love the Bills, love the over in this spot. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll look at some player props and DFS options. All right, Jordan, so I'm going to try and tighten this thing up. I'm not going to give out a bunch of, like I mentioned 42 props. I'm like, yeah, we're killing all these things. And people are like, what, the first one you gave out didn't work. What's the deal? What are you targeting prop-wise?
Yeah, so for the first one is going to be Derrick Henry, total rushing yards. The line is at 101.5. I'm going over rushing yards for Derrick Henry.
A lot of rushing yards.
See, that's what a lot of people would say, but with Derrick Henry, I mean, that's obviously been the main part of their offense for the Titans. He's gone over 100 yards 2 out of 3 games this season. I think he had like 86 the other game. So I don't think this is a crazy prop to hit. Even if the Titans win or lose this game, I do believe that Derrick Henry can go over 100 yards. It's at minus 115 right now. He's number 12 in the league with 319 rushing yards, and he's played one and sometimes two less, and sometimes in some cases two less
some people
games
play
than
5
other
games.
players.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty absurd. So he's the guy who obviously the offense runs through. That line is okay with me, just at 101. Now, if it was at like 109, 110, something like that, maybe I would second guess myself. But at 101.5, I think I'm going to take that.
I don't think that I can do that. That is too high for me. Okay. And that's okay. There's no. I mean, look, it's not a bad bet. I don't dislike it at all. I just think that 101 is a bit much for me in terms of how high I'm willing to go. Let me look at. I'm trying to think. I'm debating now. I'm like in my own head because I don't want to give out something that's not great.
Well, I'm saying this is great that we're disagreeing because either the listeners can praise you for going against me or they can praise me for being right.
I'm not straight up fading you. I'm not going to straight up fade you. I have no interest in doing that. Let's see. What do I think here? I'll tell you what I kind of like. I kind of like this spot for Stephon Diggs. And we know that, Christian Fulton, as you mentioned, is going to be out. Tennessee's secondary is not very good. They're not stopping people. Josh Allen is throwing the ball down the field. The Titans are getting vertical. So rather than take the over on Stephon Diggs receiving yards at 76.5, which I do like, I am going to look here at William Hill at Stephon Diggs' longest reception, over 26.5 yards. I think that we absolutely see a 30-yard reception at some point. Now, it doesn't have to be down the field. It can be across the middle, and he can break it. I think the Titans are just giving up bigger plays to receivers like that, and Stephon Diggs will know how to get open against a bad Tennessee secondary and will have a reception longer than 27 yards. What do you think?
I like that prop. Yeah, I wouldn't make it probably one of my locks, but I do have a Stephon Diggs prop in here. And, this will be a chance for the new Bills offense to kind of shine on the national stage since, they're one of the only teams playing tonight, just two teams. So Diggs is a big part of that new offensive unit. And I think the Bills want to, put him on display. So the second prop I have that's a lock for me is Stephon Diggs total receptions over 5.5, and that's at plus 100. Yeah. So this line actually moved from 4.5 to 5.5 on Monday night, and they also got the juice. So I still think I'm going to take it. And like I told you, I already went back and watched the Raiders-Bills film this morning, and on the first drive, they targeted Diggs 3 or 4 times. So I think that he can get 6 receptions. He's averaging over 6 receptions per game this season, I believe. So I think that's a trend that's going to continue. I think that, like you said, the main weakness on the Titans defense is their secondary. So I think Stephon Diggs could be primed for a big one. Okay.
I have no problem. Look, I mean, we agree on Diggs and the fact that he should be able to produce some high. I mean, like, I don't know that he'll get. Look, if I like the over and I like the Bills, it kind of fits with it that Diggs is going to have a nice game. Let me see real quickly before we switch over to DFS. What is Josh Allen's? I always love Ryan Tannehill rushing yards too.
That's 12.5, I believe. I got it in front of me too, if you need it.
It's 12.5. Yeah, under is juiced actually 12.5. I don't mind. I never mind a Ryan Tannehill over rushing yards, although sometimes he'll just like stop running. Like he'll get 10 yards in the first drive and then he'll just stop running. If I were playing something, I think Jonnu Smith over 4.5 receiving receptions is a pretty good play too. They like to use him, although Jonnu Smith, and he should be able to do this on William Hill where they do combined rushing and receiving yards, but they don't have it for Jonnu. I would like that because they use him in the rushing game as well. And let me see what the Josh Allen rushing yards is. I lost that. Where is it? Josh Allen rushing yards. Cannot find it for the life of me. By the way, his total passing yards is 297.5. Yep. That is crazy. Josh Allen. He didn't have a 300-yard passing game coming into the season, and they're going to tell me that his over-under is 297? That is pretty wild to me. They not have Josh Allen rushing yards here? This is ridiculous.
No, I didn't see Josh Allen rushing yards this morning on William Hill.
Okay. Any thoughts on a first touchdown prop or anytime TD score?
Yeah, so I actually haven't looked at those, but I do like Jonnu Smith. You brought that up. I mean, he's a guy, if you play fantasy football, you know he's putting up double-digit points every single week. He's a guy that Ryan Tannehill certainly targets in his offense. And if A.J. Brown's going to be limping, he's going to play, but we don't know how healthy he is. If Corey Davis isn't going to be out there, if Adam Humphries isn't going to be out there, if Michael Pruitt, the other tight end's not going to be out there, then Jonnu Smith is definitely going to be one of your top targets. And we can talk a little bit more about him when we get into DFS, but he'd be a great prop for a first touchdown scored in my mind.
Okay. Yeah, I think I agree with that completely. I also don't mind if we're just – this is my lock is the Diggs over longest reception. That's the one you can grade me on and tweet me about. I don't mind anytime touchdown score Josh Allen plus 110. They just use him in the red zone. I don't mind anytime touchdown score Jonnu Smith plus 138. I think he's a guy that they like to use in the red zone as well. The guy though who makes a ton of sense. Where is he? How can I not find? What can I find? I was looking for Firkser. You got to give me Firkser 5-1 anytime touchdown score. He's always catching in the red zone. You think it's going to be Jonnu, and then it ends up being Firkser. I like Firkser 5-1 anytime touchdown score.
I love that one as well.
Maybe Firkser 28-1 first touchdown scored. Oh yeah, shoot it in my veins. I will have some of that. So those are mine. Anything else that you've got on this game?
Yeah, just one more. Steven Gostkowski, total made field goals over 1.5. So he's coming off of a game against the Vikings where he made all 6 of his field goal attempts. The Titans were not very good in the red zone in terms of scoring touchdowns, and especially if they're missing the offensive weapons like we've already discussed here on the podcast. I think that Gostkowski is going to be used tonight, that they're going to be kicking field goals more than they'll be scoring touchdowns. So I like the prop for him just to make 2 field goals. That's it.
Okay, I like that a lot. All right, let's get to some DFS. Bring up my showdown lineups here. And, of course, you could have played a two-game thing between the Monday Night Football and the Tuesday Night Football. I was too scared about it getting canceled to do it, so I didn't. I was thinking about playing only Saints and I can't think of who did they play last night. What's wrong with me? It's only Saints and Chargers.
Yeah.
Instead, and like not play Bills and Titans, and it's canceled. You just win a DFS lineup. But instead, I'll be playing some showdown tonight on DraftKings. Josh Allen, your top price captain at 19.5. Derrick Henry checks in at 16.5. Stephon Diggs 15.9. Ryan Tannehill 14.7. AJ Brown 13.2. If people are making lineups early, he's still carrying the questionable designation, but obviously he'll be playing. So maybe that his ownership is down a little bit. Singletary 12. Jonnu Smith 10-8, and then it gets into Cole Beasley and Corey Davis, who actually is a C19 designation here. That's kind of incredible. And we start to get to sort of cheaper options. Is there anybody that, like, if you're building a lineup, how do you this would be a good night for you to play showdown maybe, because I think you foresee an under, right, and maybe a slugfest. So you could build a lineup where it's like you start with Derrick Henry, and then you work your way into more of a slower pace slog type of game, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, I'm just starting to get into DFS. I've been asking RJ White a lot of questions. So what about Jonnu Smith as a captain? Is that something that people are on board with? Is that something that's too predictable, or is that an option for you?
No. I mean, I think I would guess. So this would be a little bit like last night, like Monday Night Football, in the sense that I would guess that we get ownership for Josh Allen and Derrick Henry that is in the around 20% range in terms of their captain ownership. And that means that Stephon Diggs will probably be around 9 or 10% like Keenan Allen. Tannehill probably around the same range, maybe 13%, a little bit higher. And then, I think if you go Jonnu Smith as a captain, it absolutely will differentiate your lineup. And if you do that, I assume that you can then jam in just about everybody you want, right?
That might be my game plan, because Jonnu Smith, like I said, he might be a primary target for Tannehill. He was against the Jaguars a couple of weeks ago. He had 2 touchdowns in like the first half. So he could have another performance like that. And if you have him in that captain spot, then you're definitely on the way to some money.
Okay, so if you go, if Smith blows up, you would have a very good shot at it. If you go with Jonnu at captain, he's at 10-8. You can get Josh Allen and Stephon. So I mean, I think if you go with Jonnu at captain, you have to assume that. So you have to play it one of two ways. Either you assume you're bringing it back with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs as they try and keep up the pace, right? And you're pairing Jonnu with Tannehill, or you're assuming that the Titans just lock down the Bills, and then you're bringing it back with Titans defense and Derrick Henry. So I think you basically have to. You can bail on the. I mean, I don't know if you want to bail on Josh Allen. God, these guys are. This is a pricey slate. So then you can come back and get Steven Gostkowski and Darrington Evans. So you go Jonnu, Josh Allen, Diggs, Darrington Evans, Gostkowski, and Tannehill. And so you're basically hoping for a shootout where Derrick Henry does not get prominently involved. Which I think the only concern I would have with that is they've been involved in 2 games where we've seen more than 60 points. He still carried the ball 25 times. Like Derrick Henry he's not like he's matchup proof, but even in a shootout, they don't like pull him off the field. They just keep running the football.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely just the main part of their offense, no matter how the game is kind of going. But I like the Gostkowski play as well. I think he's definitely going to be in my lineup because, like I said, they've struggled to score the ball in terms of touchdowns in the red zone. So Gostkowski has a lot of potential to be used tonight. Yeah.
All right. So you can fit. You can't if you go with Allen at captain. You obviously I think you need to pair it with Diggs. And then that leaves you like $5,000 per player. So you kind of have to decide how are you going to bring it back. I wouldn't mind you go for A.J. Brown and Jonnu Smith, and that leaves you $2,000 for the final 2 guys. And again, you're basically punting on Firkser at $200. I mean, this guy just finds the end zone, man. What I mean, I think you got to play Firkser at $200. And that leaves you a little bit of room that you can grab Dawson Knox or Zach Moss if he plays, or Darrington Evans. If you wanted to bail out on that Jonnu spot, you would even have 5.5 to play with per pop. If you flew down and grabbed Gostkowski, you could pick up Cole Beasley potentially as a guy getting close to Jonnu Smith. So, I mean, like you can go with Josh Allen at quarterback and still work a very viable lineup here. I think if you go with Allen or Henry or Allen or Henry at captain, you probably have to plug somebody like Firkser in there to keep it cheap enough where you can get some of the more guys. But I Firkser, to me, $200 on DK, that's an automatic smash spot in these GPP plays. Anybody else that stayed out to you that looked good?
I think we covered all our bases here. I'm looking at what Isaiah McKenzie got some touches. He might be somebody who you could plug in there if you're running low on money. Darrington Evans is another guy who I'm excited for. Hopefully he kind of gets more touches as the year progresses. But in terms of the cheapest option I'm looking at, I would definitely consider Steven Gostkowski again.
Yeah, Gostkowski, if he bangs home a bunch of field goals, you'll be in good shape. All right, that's the DFS and Gambling Pod for Tuesday Night Football. Jordan, thanks, buddy, as always.